So hey, I just finished watching the entirety of Dragon Crisis, Dragon Crisis, because it's got an exclamation mark at the end of the title. For those of you who don't know, it's a 13 episode long anime that I think came out in 2011. It's only 13 episodes, and from what I've read, it's not going to be getting a sequel series or anything. But I just finished it just now. I've been watching it on Crunchyroll, and I just wanted to give my 2 cents on it. Review it of sorts, see if there's any worth in seeing it, at least coming from me. I actually really liked the show. I've seen forums, and a lot of people said that it was really crappy, or some people said that it started off with some promise, and then it dropped dead, like, early on in the series. I didn't see that, though. It's your typical harem romantic comedy. That's, for those of you who don't know, that's when a harem is when, like, one dude is surrounded by, like, 50 girls, and all those girls are crazy about him. Or there's also the reverse harem, which is the same thing, only with a girl and a bunch of dudes. When done right, it can be entertaining. There have been some that I've seen that I just thought were flat out freaking stupid. Can't name any off the top of my head because I try to forget the ones that I think are. I try to forget the animes that I think are just flat out stupid. They're not worth watching. I can't think of any. This one is a harem, but it's not an ecchi like most harem try to be. It's an ecchi's where it's just like fan service, ahoy. I think My Valentine only times 20, and every girl character is like that. It doesn't go into that territory. It does a few times at the very beginning of the series, but it kind of drops dead after the beach episode, because there's always a beach episode in an anime. But, all in all, I actually really enjoyed this one. It's got a really interesting world set up. It's like a mixture of modern times and the future, but it's also got the focus is on all these ancient things. In the world, there are these people called breakers, and they try and find things called lost preciouses. My precious. And what they do is, these lost preciouses are ancient, like, magical items that all have different properties and whatnot with them. And the main character is a level 10 breaker, which is he's one of the few in the world, and they're like the most powerful, which means they have the power to unlock the abilities of more lost preciouses than anybody else. And there's also dragons in the world, and they stick with the traditional dragons are hoarders, and so dragons love lost preciouses. And there's a huge conflict between dragons and people. There's not a lot of dragons in the world, but because humans have kind of hunted them and whatnot, there's a hatred between the two, though. And the main character comes across a dragon, and the dragons, they, for the most part, look like people, unless you either get them like really angry or really emotional or something. Then they turn into a big old giant lizard dragon, typical dragon look. But for the most part, they just look like normal people. They have the ability to bring the wings out of their back, and they have these little dragon mark on their hands, which is like all these weird scales that are all in different images. And he finds a red dragon who looks like a girl his age, blonde, and she at the beginning can only say his name, and nobody knows why. That it starts getting explained further down the road. I'm not going to give too many spoilers. I'll try to keep it as spoiler free as possible. But the whole story revolves around the main character, Ryuji, Rose, the red dragon, and Eriko, Ryuji's cousin, who is crazy and obsessed with lost preciouses. But along the way, they meet all these interesting new characters. He has a girl in his class crushing on him, but because the red dragon is so attached to him, she gets worried that they're together. And it does turn into a romance between Ryuji and one of the. By the end of it, there's like 3 girls that like him. That's what a harem is. And it does become a romance between him and one of the characters. but I'm not going to say which. The whole thing now is being a breaker, living with this dragon that he's not going to tell people that she's a dragon because people would freak because of the bad history between people and dragons. But having a dragon with him starts bringing new situations into his life, aka the appearance of other dragons are now starting to they're now starting to show up in his life. It's got a lot of humor in it, a lot of pretty funny moments. The music, they have some amazing music. There's one episode with this guy, I think his name is Geoffrey, but I'm not positive. He's only in one episode. Wait, I think 2 episodes. I think his story takes 2 episodes, but don't quote me on that. He's a priest guy who's wielding a cursed sword that he doesn't know it's cursed, that was used to slay a dragon, and because that dragon was like crazy and whatnot. And so he's on this holy crusade to rid the world of dragons, and his background music is this really Castlevania-like sounding, like, organ music theme with rock and whatnot. It's really good. It's got the show has a lot of nice, decent background musics and whatnot. The animation, it does have one scene that it does do over, like, to give an example, in Yu-Gi-Oh, back to Yu-Gi-Oh, every single time he changes into Yami Yugi, they just pull that image file, that video file that they made, and like just throw it in the video. We still have it, and they do that like every single episode. With this one, it's not as frequent, and they change it up because a lot of the situation is that this level 10 breaker Ryuji is able to do this thing called engage with the red dragon that's become attached to him, Rose. And the thing is, she's a red dragon, so she has power over fire. When they do the engage, he's able to use that fire power with a magical item that he has, which is a dagger, basically turning it into a fire blade. And that's a really cool concept, because in this world, dragons and humans have like never done this sort of thing. And so it's a really big deal now that he's able to use a dragon's power with his own power. And they do the same loop-de-loop of their hands going like this and whatnot, and like this, and her little scales shining, and the fire going around her and onto him, and then out in his arm and onto the blade. And they do the same reel every other episode or so, or it's pretty often. However, it does happen at different points in the anime, and at least they were decent enough to change the character's clothes throughout the animation. That way, if Rose is in her school uniform and she does the engage thing, it's not going to show her in her dress that she was in the first episode. They change it so that it fits with the situation, and I can give them props for that. There are a few moments when it goes a little stick figure-ish, and I mean that pretty literally. Sorry about that, camera went out. I'm still using a crappy camera. I'm going to try and wrap this up. To get back to what I was saying, there's one scene where there's a lot of violence happening to this kid. And, like, whenever he gets kicked or something, he goes, like, stick figure and, like, slow motion falls and whatnot. And it's at a distance, so it's not, like, as bad as it sounds. It actually made me laugh a few times. I'm not sure if they were intending for a laugh or if they were just running out of budget. Because for the most part, the animation in this is really good. I thought it was really good. Some of the characters look generic, but most of the dragons, at least, look pretty unique. I haven't seen this much like diversity in such a short show in a long time, in terms of the looks. But the animation quality is pretty top-notch, especially in the fight scenes. It all looks really good. And when they do the stick figure thing, I'm just not sure if they went for laughs with that. I got a chuckle, but I did notice that this is not that good of animation. So that's my thought. Those are my thoughts on those aspects: music, animation, characters, and whatnot. Final verdict would be: it's worth a watch. Maybe not a purchase if you're not into that. I might purchase it. It's on Crunchyroll right now for free, so I might just watch it on there. But I might purchase it because I found it really charming. It kept me entertained from episode 1 to episode 13, and the ending got a chuckle out of me. It's there's a little bit of ridiculousness in what happens, but it's sweet. That's pretty much how I could sum it up. The ending was sweet, but it made me laugh as well. That's all I'm going to say right now about it, so if I ever get it on DVD, I might try doing a big review of it, where it's actual point by point what's good and bad about the show. But in terms of my impression of it, worth a watch. If you're into anime, if you like harem anime, I like some of it. I like Chobits. It's one of my personal favorite animes. It's what got me back into anime. So I found it really amusing. You might find it amusing. It's got a really interesting story, so if you can get past the goofy harem romance, I'd say you might enjoy it. I don't know what you guys like. So that's all for this one. I intend on doing a review of a movie later this weekend, so gonna try and get that. I've also been busy on EHCfilm, which is my YouTube video game channel, because Sly Cooper's our big thing, and the new game just came out, so haven't had much time to do more reviews, but I'm going to, so keep on the look for that.